You know, when we think about the great conflicts of the 20th century, we tend to think about spies and soldiers, about tanks and ideologies. But there was another war, a hidden one, fought over something far more fundamental, the very blueprint for how to manage human society.
And this quote, well, it absolutely nails it. See, in the middle of the 20th century, this new science of control and communication, cybernetics, it just exploded onto the scene. And right away, almost from day one, it split. It forked into two completely opposite directions. And that split has defined the world we're all living in right now. So, that's our first section. One theory, two paths. We're going to look at how this single, really powerful idea about how systems work ended up creating two totally different kinds of machines. One was built for pure domination, and the other for liberation. So, what even is cybernetics? Well, at its heart, it's pretty simple. It's the science of how things steer themselves. Think about it. Your body maintaining its temperature, an economy trying to avoid collapse, a society trying to function. They're all systems using feedback to stay viable, to stay alive. That's cybernetics. And you can see that great split happen right here on this timeline. In the US, you've got the CIA pouring money into the Macy conferences, pulling guys like John C. Lilly into their orbit to figure out how to use this new science for interrogation and control. But at the exact same time, over in the UK, a man named Stafford Beer he's off on his own, convincing a steel company to let him use cybernetics to manage industry more democratically. Two totally separate tracks heading in opposite directions.
And this is where it gets really stark. Look at this breakdown. It's the same core science, the same ideas about feedback and systems. But on one side, it's funded by military intelligence for coercion and control. On the other, it's funded by industry for democracy and viability. It's a fundamental choice about what you use the technology for.
Okay, section 2, architectures of control. And this is where the theory hits the real world hard. Because these ideas weren't just on paper. They were literally built into the walls and furniture of actual rooms. They turned physical spaces into weapons. So let's start with the path of domination. This is the CIA's conference room technique, straight out of a 1954 assassination manual. The whole point was to turn a place of meeting and collaboration into a death trap. You weaponize the architecture itself. The single exit cuts off escape, and the big table in the middle, well, it isn't for meetings. It's there to pin people down, to cluster them together so they're easier to eliminate. It's pure, cold, tactical design.
And it wasn't just about physical violence. Oh, no. The control went deeper. It went for the mind. Using the work of that same cyberneticist, John C. Lilly, the CIA's Kubark interrogation manual laid out exactly how to weaponize a person's environment against them, how to use sensory deprivation, isolation, how to manipulate someone's surroundings to literally dismantle their sense of self.
But now, look at the other path. In Chile, Stafford Beer designed a room, the operations room for Project Cybersyn, to do the exact opposite. It wasn't about breaking people. It was about empowering them. First thing he did, he got rid of the table. No table means no head of the table, no hierarchy. Then he put 7 chairs in a circle to enforce equality. And he made them swivel chairs, so people could turn from the data on the walls to each other, creating a living, breathing loop of information and human decision-making.
I mean, just look at this side by side. It is absolutely incredible. One room is built to contain and eliminate. The other is built for regulation and survival. One uses a table to track people. The other uses an empty center to make them equal. It's the same science, but the results are, well, they're worlds apart.
So for years, you have these two machines, these two philosophies developing on opposite sides of the world. One in the shadows of intelligence agencies, the other out in the open in South America. And you just know they're on a collision course. And in the early 1970s, in Chile, they finally met.
And this is where the Liberty Machine got its chance to shine. A massive trucker strike backed by the CIA was designed to just completely paralyze the country, to starve it into submission. But Cybersyn went online. Using its network, the government was able to coordinate the essentials, keeping the country running with only a fraction of its trucks. It worked. It proved that a democratic, decentralized system could actually resist that kind of top-down, coercive force.
And then this date, September 11th, 1973. The cybernetic solution was met with the kinetic one. The CIA backed a military coup, and the democratically elected government was violently overthrown.
And the machine of control didn't just win, it had to erase its rival. When soldiers stormed the Cybersyn building, they found this futuristic room they couldn't possibly understand. And so, as this quote says, one of them just smashed the screens with his rifle. It wasn't just breaking glass, it was brute force destroying a complex idea. It was the physical end of a dream. But the story doesn't end there, because we are all, right now, living in the wreckage of that moment. The destruction of that room wasn't an ending, it was the beginning of the world that the victorious machine would build. And in this world, this system of control, we're not really seen as whole people anymore. The philosopher Gilles Deleuze had a term for it, the dividual. You're not an individual, you're a collection of data points that can be divided up. Your credit score, your health metrics, your vulnerability score, you're just a profile to be managed. And if you think that's just some abstract theory, let me tell you, it's not. This is what it looks like in the real world. This is the housing trap in Atlanta. You've got algorithms automatically filing evictions. People get housing vouchers, but they expire before they can be used. So they're forced into these ridiculously expensive motels that just drain every last penny, which then makes their data profile look worse. It's a perfect, vicious feedback loop of despair, all managed by a system. And if you want to know what that really means, here it is. This is the logic of the control machine made real. A woman, a human being with cancer, was denied a place to stay because a computer algorithm calculated her vulnerability score and decided she just wasn't suffering enough. Her pain was quantified, and the system said no. So, yeah, that's bleak. It can feel completely inescapable, like we're just trapped in this global system. But it is not the end of the story. Because that project that was smashed to pieces back in 1973, it wasn't a failure. It was a blueprint. This is so important to understand. Stafford Beer wasn't wrong. He was just early. He was first. What he built was a prototype, a proof of concept. And yeah, the prototype got smashed. So what does that mean? It means it's our turn to build the production model. So how do we fight a cybernetic machine with a better one? Beer's work gives us a roadmap. First, we have to reclaim the pain signal. When the system hurts people, we have to organize things like rent strikes to make sure the system feels that pain. Second, we reject their hierarchies. We build decentralized networks that don't have a single head you can chop off. And third, we build our own infrastructure, real, tangible things like community land trusts that their algorithms can't touch. So that's the question, isn't it? That's the challenge that's left for us. The first attempt, the prototype Liberty machine, was destroyed half a century ago. The question for our future is, are we going to just stay as individuals in their database? Or are we going to finally get serious about building the production model?